Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a little stroll down memory lane, at least for me, that I hope you'll enjoy taking with me. I'm talking about the very first symphony concerts in which I had the opportunity to play as a percussionist. It was the inaugural season of the Johns Hopkins Symphony Orchestra, 1981-82, under the conductor Catherine Overhauser, actually, but we just called her Kathy. And oh my goodness, what fun that was. I remember it vividly. And I just thought I'd talk you through the programs. It's not that there were so many. I wound up as a percussionist, for some of you who don't know this, because actually, I started life trying to play the piano and I sucked. And then I wanted to play the clarinet and I sucked. But when I got to college, I sucked so much at the clarinet that whenever I practiced, our dog would try and chew its way through my bedroom door to get me to stop, and she would howl, and everyone was complaining. It wasn't a happy thing. But my college roommate, Jeff the dentist, hi Jeff, if you're there, he had a clarinet that he didn't want. He wasn't using it, and so he gave it to me. And I really wanted to take up the clarinet again because I hadn't done it since like grammar school. And so I started taking lessons at the Peabody Conservatory, and I sucked. And I didn't have the patience or the time, and I was doing other things. I was on the debate team, and I was, taking classes once in a while, which we all do in college. And so when the opportunity came and they started to form this orchestra, I was also in the Glee Club. And the conductor there was Ken Kiesler, who's at University of Indiana or University of Illinois. He's done some wonderful recordings for Naxos, the complete Mio, Sophocles trilogy and all that stuff, or whatever it is. Not Sophocles, the other Greek guy. Never mind. Ignore me. I'm babbling. So let's get to the point. So they started this orchestra. Catherine Overhauser started this orchestra, and they needed percussionists. And I wanted to play in the worst way, so I said, I'll do it. And of course they said yes, because they had no idea what they were getting. And we had fun. So the first concert was on Sunday, November 15th, 1981. And the program was, Schubert's Overture to Rosamund, Beethoven's Piano Concerto No. 3 with Annie Darko, pianist. Now, Annie Darko was a serious French pianist. She was friends with somebody who was friends with somebody who was friends with Catherine Overhauser somehow, some way. And so she agreed to play, which was amazing. We had a really solid concertizing pianist. And this was our first concert, and the orchestra had its iffy moments, but yep, she was there. And then what was next? Oh, the Pavane for a Dead Princess. And finally, I got to do something. It was the Capriccio Espagnole by Rimsky-Korsakov. And I was the castanettist. In the very end, in the jota, or whatever that thing is at the end. Oh my goodness, that was fun. It was so exciting. Of course, I couldn't play real castanets. I had machine castanets. They're wired on a block, so you just go chugga chugga chugga. They're like those chattering teeth or something like that. You wind them up and they go. But it was such a wonderful experience. Oh my goodness! I also played triangle and some other things because you don't need the castanets until the last movement. That was great. I just couldn't get enough of it. We had such a good time. So the second concert was on Sunday, December 6th, 1981. And the program was, what were we doing? Handel's Messiah. I had nothing to do with it. Nothing whatsoever. And it was at the First English Lutheran Church in Guilford, Maryland, I gather. And I sat it out. I played timpani in Messiah many times, but not in that performance. So that was sad. And then I sat around on my butt waiting for March, because March 14th, this had some wonderful things, absolutely wonderful things. The Sunday, March 14th concert featured, the Concerto Grosso in D minor by Vivaldi. It was Opus 3, number 11, and Haydn's 88th, which is one of my favorite things in the entire universe. I wasn't the timpanist. I was just a utility percussionist. Just a schmo who hit all the extra instruments, but I hit them very hard and very loud, as I do here when we, play the tam-tam. And then really a discovery. This was a piece that Catherine Overhauser had. You know, all conductors have in their briefcases works that they kind of make their own, that they can take out and do anywhere. But they may be a little bit on the unusual side. And this was one of hers. It was Pizzetti, his 3 symphonic preludes to Oedipus Rex by Sophocles. What a beautiful work that is. 3 simple movements. It's scored for an absolutely standard orchestra with no extras. That is double winds, just double winds and like 4 horns and 2 trumpets and 3 trombones. I don't even know if there's a tuba, and timpani and cymbals. And I was cymbals. I was the cymbal player, the only percussionist in that piece. It had some really cool things, suspended cymbals and crash cymbals. And I got to do both in all 3 movements. So I was unbelievably happy. It was exciting and it was new, and I learned new music. I mean, the wonderful thing about playing percussion, as all of my fellow percussionists will tell you, is that you sit around most of the time doing nothing unless you're playing something wildly contemporary where you're schlonging away at vibraphones and marimbas and things. So you hear what everyone else is doing. And it was such an education to sit in the back of the orchestra and just observe and listen. I mean, it was so fascinating. Sometimes I forgot to get up and I missed my cue, but not here, not at these concerts. And then we concluded with Bolero. Now, I played Bolero a couple of times. I never really learned to play the snare drum properly. I couldn't do open and closed rolls correctly and whatnot. I could play the second snare drum in Bolero, which I did in the rehearsal, but actually in the concert, I played everything else. And everything else at the end, as you know, is pretty considerable. It's a bass drum, suspended cymbals, and tam-tam. It's da-da-da, bump, ba-da-da, crash, bump, ba-da-da, crash, ba-da-da, so that was fun. I had everything sort of arranged in my own little area, my own little cage, and I was just bashing and crashing away. The trouble with Bolero is that the very last note ends with a bass drum thud and a tam-tam crash on a really hard 8th note or quarter note. I mean, it's supposed to be crash and damped immediately. And there's no physical way you can do both. I mean, because you only have 2 hands. And if you hit the bass drum, then you whack the tam-tam, there's just not enough time. And we didn't want to have excessive tam-tam overhang. And Catherine knew perfectly well not to tell me what to do because I was going to do what I wanted anyway, as often as not. She and I sort of, didn't get on too well, actually. But I was the president of the orchestra, by the way. Did I tell you that? Yes, they elected me that, which meant that I was essentially her slave at her beck and call, and I protested and sort of resigned after that, although I still played. But, Anyway, the point is that Bolero is like a physical impossibility if there's only one percussionist to do all 3 parts. But I figured out how to do it because tam-tams have a certain amount of time between when you hit them and when they speak. Some of them are much quicker than others, but this was a relatively slow one. It was a paista, and you hit it, and it went, So what I did was, on that last chord, bump, crash with the cymbals, ba-da-da-da-da-dump with the bass drum, I hit the tam-tam just before. So dump, yeah, da-da-da-da, like this, and then boom with the bass drum. So by the time the tam-tam actually was audible, it was swelling, we were at the last note, and I could damp it with the same hand to start with, da-da-da-da-da-dump with this hand that I hit it with, and then I figured it out. Let's put it that way. And I felt I'd arrived. I mean, it was such a not big deal, but I just was so proud of myself. I can't even tell you. And then let's see, was there anything else? What was the last program? Oh, yes. The last program. Oh, this was even more fun. We did the Te Deum by Haydn. And the reason we were able to do the Haydn Te Deum, which is just marvelous, it's 10 minutes of screaming and yelling, is because we were doing it in Glee Club. And I was in the Glee Club. So I got to sing in the Haydn Te Deum while I played the rest of the concert. And that was incredible fun. I actually sang the Te Deum sitting down in the back of the orchestra watching everything happen. It was wonderful. And then the other works were the Schubert Unfinished, in which I had nothing to do because I wasn't the timpanist. And then the Bizet L'Arlésienne suites, numbers 1 and 2, in which I did get to play the farandole and a few other things like that. And that was just tremendous fun also. And that was my first season. That was it. It was Sunday, April 25th, 1982, the very first season of the Hopkins Symphony Orchestra. And I am so happy to report that it's still there. It's still going strong. I'm absolutely thrilled. I mean, I was looking at the website. There is a website, Hopkins Symphony Orchestra. It's at and it has an archive series. So there it is. I mean, the last season that they have in the archives is 2018, 2019. And let's see if they have Visit Hopkins Symphony Orchestra. What does that say? Donate. Yeah, you can donate and volunteer. Wow. And they have upcoming events. They're doing Bartok's Concerto for Orchestra. Wow. They've gotten a hell of a lot better than they were when I was there. That's for damn sure. Well, if they can play the Bartok Concerto for Orchestra, that's like, wow. That's very, very serious stuff. Let's see, who's the conductor now? Let's see, contact us, media and press, mission and advisory boards, staff and musicians. Oh, here we go. Jed Galen is the music director. And yes, good for them. I'm really proud of them. They're still there. I feel really great because I was there at the beginning, at the commencement of that entire quasi-illustrious musical history. So I hope you've enjoyed this little bout of nostalgia that I had. I mean, sometimes you find these things online and it's always so exciting to go back and remember what happened. When was it? 1982. So that was 40. Yeah, well, a long time ago, basically. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate your spending the time with me and giving me a chance to talk about this stuff. And, I'm not trying to be an egomaniac, but it's fun. It's fun to be able to chat about these things and with such a sympathetic and kind audience. Take care.